All right, boys and girls, ladies and gents, it's time for tea. Let's talk.
As the snow falls, I call on you. You can whisper softly, I still hear you. Black sky, moonlight, magic, I still hear you.
So hello, my beauties. Darian here. In case you don't know who I am, don't know why you're watching this if you don't, but I'm gonna assume that you do. Or some weird algorithm happened and you just happen to be seeing this. Don't ask me why. I don't know, but hello, maybe Source brought you here for a reason. I don't know. So, pause this video, grab some tea, have a seat. We gonna talk. Hi everyone. Happy 2020. This is like my third video in 2020, even though we're the second month in. I am not gonna say that I'm behind because I'm not. I'm right on time. I'm right on schedule with life. And that's what I choose to say about that. So today I wanna give you an update on me, my business, my channel, my whole life, what I've been going through. I'm gonna try to watch the clock because y'all know a Gemini girl could talk. So I'm gonna try not to talk your ear off. I actually did film a tea talk, and I can't remember why I didn't post it, but I filmed one like maybe a month ago, and for whatever reason, I think it was out of focus. So for whatever reason, I mean, I can't do a whole, it was like an hour-long video of me like out of focus the majority of the time. So that's a no-go. Just so you guys know, it takes like an hour to set up, it took me like an hour alone just to set up the whole system here and like make sure, things are plugged in. And as you notice, I film in a different space in my house. I live in a row home just outside of Philadelphia. It's small, and what I've tried to do is like, not that you care, but I've tried to like design certain parts of my home so that they are filmable, so that I'm not just like filming in the same spot every time, because that can get a little bit boring for me. I know I did that on Freedom Friday for 5 years straight. Now I want to mix it up, so here I am. But it takes a while to like set all this stuff up, and then on top of like getting dressed, getting showered, putting cute clothes on, doing your hair, like the whole thing. And I actually dyed my hair before I got on here. So it's been like a couple hours of me preparing to do this. And hilariously, I sat down and was like, what the fuck am I gonna talk about? So I did say a prayer before, just to make sure that I'm talking about something that is on point for me and what I want to talk about. I am sweating, so I need to go turn my heat down. Just a moment, please. Thanks. Okay, I'm just going to address the fact that yes, I am wearing a completely see-through shirt and a bra, and we're here. Hello, YouTube. So if you wanted to say something about it, hopefully the girls don't pop out. I just did, so it's not that cool now if you say something. So, it has been a while since I posted a Witch Baby Wednesday video. It's been a while since I've posted anything other than, like, I feel like I keep getting all these like subscription boxes, and 2020 hit and I was like, I just need like a break. I need to think about things. I don't have my life together. And yet, I still have this incredible like platform and this incredible little world that I created here. And so of course, luckily, I've worked really hard for everything that I've done on this channel and in my business. And so because of that, I am attracting a lot of people that want to collaborate with me, which is amazing. And I'm just like, I'm not ready. So I apologize in advance to anybody who in the last like 2 months has tried to do like collaborations with me, and I've just like muffed them all up because life happened. Like my daughter Meadow, for those of you who've been following me for a long time, you know Meadow. You've known Meadow since she was a wee little baby. You've known Meadow since she was in my belly. And she was very sick basically the entire month of January. I'd say at least like 3 weeks from Christmas Eve on until just before her birthday, which was January 25th. So it's just was crazy. And you know, I'm a single mom. My first daughter's father passed away. So there's never a time that like I don't have her, although she's a teenager now. So I pretty much never have her because she's like rarely ever home. You know how teenagers are. But then I have a now 4-year-old and she's here all the time. All the time. She goes to her dad's like 10 hours a week, which is nothing. Right now she is at my mother's house, thank God. My mom was having lots of health issues this past year and she's improved a lot. So she was watching Meadow for me a lot and then she wasn't able to because she was so sick all last year. And so, now she's finally able to take her. I'm going to probably ask her if she can take her like once a week for me now because I'd love that. And Meadow only goes to school like 2.5 hours, 3 days a week. So it's like, mama don't catch a break. And if you guys know Meadow, if you've followed me for a while and you know Meadow, she is like a burst of lightning. She's an incredible little girl, but she is a firecracker. And so her mind goes a mile a minute, whereas mine, I'm just like, you know, I'm a Gemini, so I'm like all light and airy. I mean, she's an Aquarius, but I believe she's a Leo moon, which makes her very fiery. And then my other daughter is a Leo sun. I forget what her moon sign is, but she might even be a Gemini moon. So we're all kind of like connected and we all kind of reflect one another. And we all like really work well together for the most part. But it's wild, it's crazy. And, you know, I'm just like, on top of that, if you guys remember my last tea talk, I had like that deep confession about my ended relationship and that, you know, he was somebody that was abusive. He was somebody that was, I don't even want to say abusive anymore. I would rather just say like, he was manipulative. He had anger problems and kind of a little stroke of violence here and there. I'm trying to change the verbiage about that, but I want to talk about some of the things that I have been experiencing, or not that I've been experiencing, but what I've been learning. So it has been a big old slice of humble pie for me the last year because especially in the last like 2 months, I have been like, my mindset's been not there. Like I've been negative. I've fallen into depression once or twice. Even like last week, I had vertigo for a week and a half straight. Vertigo. I felt like I was on a roller coaster or like a ship or something for a week and a half straight. That sucks. That was great. The reason I say it was like a big old slice of humble pie for me is because, again, if you've been following me for a long time, I had my Freedom Friday video that I did every single week. I had I wouldn't call it completely thriving. Yeah, it was thriving. I mean, it wasn't where I wanted it to be. My business wasn't where I wanted it to be, but it was definitely a growing business. It was definitely a huge community that I had developed and, you know, was getting to the point where my business was becoming, sustaining my life, you know, and ready to grow even more, where I wanted to start, like, I was ready to start hiring people to help me to expand and branch out. I had built an incredible business on my own 2 feet with my own skills. I, over the last 5 years, learned all this. Like I learned how to do all of this. I taught myself all this-ish, right? Like the graphics, the photoshopping, the editing, the how to even use these cameras and lighting and aesthetics, and on top of the business part of it, on top of me being a spiritual coach and like all the trainings that I received for that and went through with that. And it just, it was my baby. It was my empire. It was my kingdom. And like, I'm kind of getting a little emotional now because it meant the world to me. And I think, look, my cat's coming up now. She's coming to console me. I think that, hi, lovey. They can't see you. Hi. She just came up at the perfect time. Are you trying to show off? This is Haven. She's down here. You can kind of see her little head. Oh, baby. Anywho, I got really, hopefully she sits down and just doesn't put her butt in your face. This is Haven. Haven has come to say hi. I think this is the first time she's ever come to say hi on her videos. You're gonna have to sit somewhere, girlfriend. Say hi. Look at the camera. Look over here. Look. Show your pretty face. All right, you're gonna have to sit though. Anywho, isn't this super cliche? The witch and her black cat drinking some tea, talking about life. Here we are. She's gonna try to sit her little butt. Here, sit your little butt right here. Go ahead. All right, so let me finish what I was saying. So I built this incredible business, but what I was even most, I think, proud of or had gotten really, really good at was keeping my vibrations high. So I was what Abe Hicks would call like oh, you're gonna sit with me. She's so cute. What Abe Hicks would call like vibrational snob. Like I was there. I was that girl. I was like, if anything was happening that I didn't want to happen, I would just get in alignment with what I wanted to happen. Oh, I don't want this. Oh, what do I want? Okay. And I would just make it happen. And then all that ish happened, which if you want to hear about all that drama, you can go watch my last tea talk from months ago. But all that happened with my breakup with my ex. And all of that transpired. And so it didn't shatter me, but it was like little by little, I just got more and more negative. I focused more and more on negative things. It was so hard to ignore because I still see him like every other day because he's the father of my child. And so I felt like I still feel like this. I have never, over all this time, gotten just a break to get over the breakup, to cry all I need to cry, to scream all I need to scream, to do all I need to do and let it out and get it over with, do my EFT, take like a month off from that or even a couple months and not have to see him and get over it. But I had to see him all the time. I had to talk to him all the time. So it was like picking open that scab again and again and again. I just felt like I could never catch a break. And so I am worlds better than I was then. And I'm really, in the last 2 months especially, I've really been taking this time to get out what I haven't been able to get out. Like, it would have come through in floods before, whereas it would have been like a 3-week-long flood pouring out of me of like the pain and just processing all those emotions. There's so many emotions to process from that relationship because, I was stuck in a cycle of abuse that I didn't know I was stuck in. And so it's like when the dust kind of starts to settle in the rubbish of your life and that relationship, it's like, what the fudge did I just experience? Like, what the hell just happened? It's like, when you're on a war zone, when you're on the battlefield, the endorphins or whatever are going so much that you don't have time. Like your body makes it so that you're in like survival mode. So you don't actually understand the emotions that you're experiencing. You don't go through the emotions. You don't even feel anything until you're off the battlefield. And then that's when all the emotions come through. So that's really what it has felt like for me since, I think in the last time he and I were like together or had any sort of thing, which I believe I talked about this in the last tea talk, I'm not sure, but it was this past summer. And so I feel like that, like whatever happened there was like, that was it for me. It was like a shock to my system, woke me up so much more, the way I just really realized like how much he just either didn't give a shit about me or like was really just trying anything he could to like really deliberately harm me. I don't know, whatever, but it woke me up. And I was like, no, I'm not doing this. Like, I felt like it seemed like he got like a little sloppy, whereas before he would at least pretend that he wanted to be with me or pretend that he cared or pretend something. At this time, he just like wasn't even trying to pretend. He just like didn't even care at all. And that really like, I was like, oh, okay. So everything he said was a lie. Okay. So that's not funny. I mean, it wasn't funny at the time, I'll tell you that much. So since July, I feel like that's the first time that I've really, really started to actually heal this, because I wasn't really away from him. I hadn't even like cut that connection off. And so it's just, that's where I'm at. So it's, I guess what, been 7 months since then. And I've really healed a lot. So I have been working with, coincidentally, I did business coaching. I coached a woman by the name of Tania Iris. I call her Tania because we friends like that. But she was a longtime like Freedom Friday follower and kind of like, you know, just always like a client, always signing up for things with me. And, you know, was always there, like was always a follower. And then I helped her to launch her energy healing business. And she and I were actually trained in the same type of energy healings. So when she took my How to Rock It as an Empath course, she was like, oh my God, like I'm trained in this. And so I think that we really connect on that way. Like our type of energy healing, it's different than like Reiki. It's not like anything I don't think either of us have ever seen anywhere else. But she lives like halfway across the country. So it's kind of funny that we both were trained in such a similar way. So that on top of the fact of like just working with her, knowing her for years, just knowing her energy, we've developed kind of like a friendship. She started doing her energy healings on me so that I could help to, get an idea of like what, how can we market this? How can we put it out there? So as I was like helping her build her website and all, and one of the things that she started to do energy healing on me about was like the love sector of my life, the love area aspect of my life. And just like how I feel about love and what's going on in there. And so she did multiple sessions and really peeled back a lot of layers. And she really, really, really helped me in so many ways. I will link her down below. I don't get paid to do it. Just so you know, we're not affiliates, although we should be. And I'm gonna need to teach her how to set up an affiliate account. We should be affiliates. But I just wholeheartedly believe in the work that she does. Like obviously I teach it myself. Like I teach the trainings. I train people to learn the same things that she does. And so, of course I believe in what she does and I believe in her. So that's just a little plug for her that I want to put out there. But I was doing lots of that. I was doing like acupuncture. I was doing, obviously I've been in traditional therapy for the last 1.5 years, which I talked about on the last one, but it's been a big old slice of humble pie. And I'll tell you why, because I was so used to being so high vibe. And then all of a sudden, boom. I can't even feel my soul anymore. I don't even know what's going on. I realized yesterday in the last 2 days, I haven't even been praying like I used to pray anymore. And then I think being like low vibe, and also like I was high vibe when I started to hear the call to witchcraft, but then I got so low vibe that I started like picking up low vibe witchcraft shit, which there's a lot of it out there. And so there were times where I was like, is this wrong? I was like afraid of the witchcraft. I was like, should I not be doing this? And then of course I'm introducing, like I was so clear on what God was, but now I'm introducing the goddess, which is something that I never really recognized. I was always used to calling it God, and having Christian patriarchal upbringing, I just never questioned the masculine reference that God has always had in my upbringing. I think that I thought that it was so harmless because I was like, whatever, God, like, we mean divine feminine and divine masculine all mixed together, but like just to praise something that I'm calling him, it never was something that I like questioned before, until I was recovering from what some may consider narcissistic abuse and being discarded by a narcissist, and going through the turmoil of that and realizing that, like, I just want to put this out there first and foremost. I am not a victim. I know on every which way, shape, and form that on a spiritual level, we'll say it that way, not on an egoic level, but on a spiritual level, I planned this whole thing. I know that I manifested him. Y'all know, if you've been following me for a long time, I am a very strong woman. I have been through a lot of ish, and I do it to help raise consciousness in the world. It's like my ego goes kicking and screaming. My ego wants to completely deny that that's what I'm here on this earth to do. But like, I think we all know that that's what I'm here on this earth to do. And it just feels like one of my deepest calling. It is my deepest calling. How I do that and how I show up and how I express that is personal to me. But, that's always been a thing for me. So I've always been through a lot of shit. I choose on a spiritual level to go through a lot of shit because I want to, know exactly how to get in and out of dark, back to the light. I want to know how to go into the dark and get back to the light all the time, because I know that there's a lot of darkness around here in this earth during this time, during my lifetime, a lot of darkness that needs to be transcended and transmuted. And so truly it's just illusions. And that is what I went through when I went through this 6-year relationship with this person who I've known for like 15, 16 years. Knew consciously that he was going to be trouble. I mean, it was a no-brainer that he was going to be trouble. But I was like two people in that relationship. There was like the high vibe Darian, the love and light Darian, the all is one spiritual journey Darian, and then the ego Darian. And the part of me that was like my patriarchal conditioning that I was not even truly aware of. And it's like, I feel so cliche. I'm just going to be honest with y'all, okay? I know that we're in a new wave of feminism and I am here for it. I've always been a feminist in that way. I've also been a patriarchal female, and I'm not going to lie about that. I mean, look at the way my hair's done. Look at the way I dress. Like, yeah, I mean, maybe not the way I dress, but you know what I'm saying? Like, that's because I was conditioned to be like this. I don't even deny that. Like, I know that. I know it's because I was conditioned to be like this, but I was so caught up in that conditioning. It was such a way of life. It was in the fibers of our way of living. It still is for so many, that like what I had, this experience that was so traumatizing for me and me really having to be like asleep. Like I went back to sleep, could not get myself out. You guys know, I mean, I've been coaching people for 5 years how to get themselves out and back up into the light and back into a high vibration and go through trauma and heal. Like I've been teaching this for a long time. What is so important to me is that I would be considered an expert in my field, right? I am experienced in these healing modalities. I am trained. I am researched. I am learned. I know what I'm doing. And yet still somebody like me could go deep down into that space of being back to sleep. What that says to me is like, if even I could fall into there, one, again, that's that big old slice of humble pie, is like, it doesn't matter who you are or what you know or what you think you know. You could fall into the dark or you could be lifted into the light. It's all, I mean, it's just, I can't even say like it's all a matter of just making the choice. Of course, at the end of the day, that's a totally oversimplified way of putting it, but I don't feel okay as a experienced person in this field, in knowing this stuff, right? I don't feel okay knowing that there are millions of people in this world that will experience something like I've experienced, where they can be high vibe and then all of a sudden crash, or just be crashed and just living in a crash light, like just be living in that hell. And I need to know that I can give them the tools to get out of that, and that they don't need to have 10 years of experience and all this kind of stuff like I have, because obviously that doesn't make a difference. But I'm thinking in my mind, like, if I'm going through this and I can't even get through my, like, this narcissistic abuse and yada, 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 if I'm going through this and I can't get through this, what are millions of other women and just human beings experiencing? If I'm like, I read every book you could read. I mean, I haven't read every book, but like, you know what I'm saying? So I really at the core of all this, I want to be able to know the answers so with everything in me that I am able to teach you guys how to get out of your own personal hell. And I thought I knew, and I have a feeling that I still do know, but like, or that the answer hasn't changed that much. But I also have a feeling that like the answer will change a lot. That it's like the tower moment that I've been having. It's a long moment, but shattering this patriarchal shell that I've been living inside of. So, when you seek freedom, as I was seeking freedom in every aspect of my mind, thus my life, when you seek freedom, what I've come to the conclusion, at least so far, is that you can't be somebody like us who are seekers and start, realizing that the ego, oh, that's ego, oh, and not get to a point where you hit your own patriarchal conditioning, or get to a point where you hit your own like racial conditioning or racist conditioning or whatever kind of social conditioning we all have. But for me as a female, even men have this, of course. The patriarchal conditioning, it is our greatest, I can feel it strangling us. And the reason it started to hit me was when I realized that, it's one thing to say like, oh, we need to shatter the patriarchy. It's a whole nother thing to do the fucking work to heal the patriarchal conditioning within yourself. That's the only way you're going to shatter the patriarchy, for real, if you really want to know. But you're never going to even approach that if you don't have something shattering that happens in your life. It's just where we're at. And I don't even want to argue with nobody about that. Like, it's where we're at. As long as you are a human being today, right now, and you grew up the way the majority of us grew up, learning that this is the way women are supposed to be, and this is the way men are supposed to be, and all of that kind of shit, and that men have always had power, and whether somebody actually told you that or you just never really questioned it, which most of us never really questioned it, you know, until something shatters your earth, figuratively, and challenges those beliefs, you're never going to really look at them. Like, you're going to be like, yes, F the patriarchy, but you're never really going to do the work that's necessary to actually shatter the patriarchy. So in that way, I am grateful. I mean, I'll let you know in a couple of months how grateful I am, but in that way, I'm grateful that I experienced this sort of earth-shattering kind of relationship, because I realized, like, I was in so much pain. And having come from being so high vibes, so in alignment with the source within me, so just like in the flow, creating, like I was like content queen. I realized that the sun is glaring in my face, but I was like content queen because I was creativity. It just was pouring out of me. I was so inspired every day, and I was inspiring thousands of people, and it felt incredible to do what I was doing. And to go from that to being in so much pain, I couldn't understand what had happened. I felt like I'd given so much to him. I felt like I had done everything you were supposed to do. And then I realized, like, how could this happen? I did everything right. I did everything you're supposed to do as a woman, right? Like, I don't think I even thought like that until I started to say, like, oh, I thought I did everything right. And then I was like, what's that voice? What do I mean? I thought I did everything right. And I started to realize, like, what system were he and I operating on that made this happen? Because that's what the problem is. The problem is, it's one of the problems. There's a lot of problems going on here, but the problem was that there is a system that he and I were operating on that millions upon probably billions of other people are operating on, that says, that makes me abandon myself and put him first, and him put him first and abandon me. And that to be this vicious cycle, and for him to sweep shit under the rug and be very overtly sexual in a way that's really not appropriate. And for me to just take that, because I think that there's no other way, right? For me to just be like, oh yeah, for people to be like relationships to be overly sexual, and for me to get sexual attention, that means I matter because, and it's like, I've had to really take a good look at myself in the mirror, and I still do it every single day. I am having to look at some relationship dynamics from my past that have always been blatantly obvious to me that were abusive and toxic. Family members, things like that I grew up with, that I just never really addressed, I figured out on an energetic level that I had kind of created this kingdom of heaven inside a cave of hell. So it's like I was still living. There was just so many things that I wasn't addressing, not because I was afraid of addressing them. I just was like, hell, I've healed a lot of other shit. Like, I'd like to be happy at some point. I don't think that, it would take lifetimes upon lifetimes to just heal everything. Yes. I think that when you go through an experience like what I've gone through, you have no choice but to heal it. And that's when it's time to heal it, because all of your beliefs are being challenged, and I'm hurting. My pain is coming from beliefs that need to be changed. That's where my pain is coming from. It's not necessarily coming from him or what he's doing or what he's done. Of course, that triggers it and shows me, hey, I have a belief that is causing me pain. What's the belief? And for me, it's been like, I have a lot of beliefs that when it comes to relationships, and not just romantic relationships, but all relationships, and how I show up in relationships, and even more importantly, how I show up for myself in relationships, which was not something that I was doing. I believe that I am an embodiment of the goddess. Obviously, I'm a woman. So as a female and somebody who identifies as female is in some way, shape, or form the embodiment of the goddess. I want to be an embodiment of the goddess. I want to be, that's just a desire of mine. And so because of that, I am a giver. I want to be able to give with abundance because that makes me feel good. As a female, it's part of who I am is to receive, and my cup runneth over, and me be so abundantly in my goddessness that I am pouring out, the love in me is pouring out into everyone around me. But because of the patriarchy, we've all been taught to disrespect that and to not respect that about women and that about ourselves. We've been taught, I know my face is like totally, the sun is just blaring in my face right now. The goddess is speaking. Hopefully it goes over soon. But I wasn't, especially in my family, with the women in my family who, a lot of the women, not all of the women, but a lot of the women in my family have struggled and, just not honoring the feminine at all. And, I was taught that the feminine is to be ignored, to be disrespected. The feminine is basically like a slave, and she's just there to make everybody else happy. My face is going to be like blaringly bright, bright, bright. We'll give this sun a moment. So anyway, back to it as the sun does its thing. So yeah, I think that my biggest lesson here, there's just been so many, I can't even go into the amount of lessons. I think that once I really, really, really feel myself again, I really don't feel myself again. I'm just going to be honest. I don't have a daily schedule put together for myself. I feel like my daughter is kind of running my life a little bit. I'm not really taking care of myself in the way that I would like to be taking care of myself. I'm really at this point just trying to listen to my emotions and process all of those emotions that I never got to process. And it's really, it's just bringing up so many things for me. And so, in the last 2 months with Meadow being sick and me doing all this healing, I really haven't done that much magic. I've been reading this book called Goddess Reclaimed by Syma something or other. Don't ask me what her last name is. I will maybe link the video, the book down below. I don't know. But that is basically it's 13, it's essentially rituals to heal through things, working with goddesses. That's been a help for me. So that's really been the only magic that I've been doing. I tried to do some manifesting yesterday, and I wanted Meadow to go to sleep. She was getting on my nerves and I wanted her to go to sleep, and I manifested it. I just did, I used my manifesting tools. I just imagined what it would feel like for her to be sleeping, and I set the intention that she would be sleeping. I decided it so, and so it is, and then I let it go. And literally 2 minutes later, she fell asleep. And I was like, oh, there's that. But then I realized that one thing that I'm struggling with that I am going to be, I'm working through, I'll let you know when I figure it out, is I was so used to, a year and a half ago, I was so used to having something happen that I maybe didn't want to happen and then going, oh, I don't want that. All right, let me tune in. What do I want? Okay, here's what I want. Let me get in vibrational alignment with it. What would it feel like to have that? Okay, set it in stone, decide it. It'll come. I don't have to worry about it. Let it go. And then it would happen. So I got really, really, this is where I'm learning. And I've gone, I go to Apex almost every year. And I remember Abe talking about this, I believe at the last event that I went to, but yes. And I should listen back to that because I do have the full audio of the whole workshop. But I was so used to being able to control my conditions because I knew that all I needed to do was control my vibrations. That when so many things happened when it came to my relationship and all of that, like this was a man that I loved. Yes, we were in an abusive cycle. Yes, that's all true. But I loved him deeply. That wasn't fake for me. And I don't really think it was fake for him. I think that he was in the illusions a lot more than I was. And we mirrored the crap out of each other constantly, all the time. And I've even said, I wouldn't doubt still to this day if we were twin flames. I've had a twin flame reader tell me that we are twin flames, but I do have the choice to break that contract. And I've already broken contracts with him. So I don't know, but we definitely mirror each other like twins. And so every single one of my beliefs, good and bad, heaven and hell, were dead in my face all the freaking time. And, probably the same for him as well. And there's that bright sun again. Oh, hello, darling. I'm just going to give him a moment. I'm going to give him a moment. So anyway, as I was saying, I got really, 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 really used to being able to control the conditions. But when this huge series of things happened, I couldn't control the conditions. I couldn't control my ex. I couldn't control his decisions. I know on some level that I could, as a witch and as somebody who knows how to manifest and I know how to influence people, I know that I could. I know all the witches are like, girl, I know tons of spells that you could do to, I know that. Very well aware of that. But when you're in such a low energy, negative emotion, in so much pain, that's just so irresponsible for me. I just, like I said, I just got done saying I have 10 years of experience on a spiritual path and training and all this. I don't operate like that. And I don't judge anybody who does. Literally no judgment whatsoever. I think that you work at the level of your consciousness and your understanding. And that's all the best that we can do, right? We're all doing the best we can do. But I know better and I couldn't do that. So doesn't mean that when I get my high vibeness going, that I won't just go, oh, this is what I want. But I think the biggest thing too was I couldn't figure out what I wanted. At that time, a year and a half ago, I wanted him to be, when he was nice, I wanted him to be that all the time. And he wasn't able to do that. He wasn't able to, I wanted so many things from him. I wanted him to be something he wasn't ready to be. Doesn't mean that he didn't have the capacity to be it. It's I didn't want him to change who he was. I just wanted him to be a confident, secure in himself man who loved himself and felt good about and was proud of himself. And that version of him would have been my soulmate till the day I die. If he truly had the capacity to not need somebody else to lift him up, he needed me to stroke his ego. He needed other people to stroke his ego and lift him up. He needed me to lift him up. And I want to be in a relationship with a man that doesn't need me to lift him up. And I don't want to be with somebody who I need to lift me up. Like, there were a lot of times where I was clingy with him when I was feeling really, really down, and I would like need him as like kind of get high off of him. Not nearly as much as I feel the opposite, but like towards the end there, like the last 2 years, like year and a half, 2 years. Yeah, for sure. And I think I wanted something that he couldn't be. And it killed me to think that if I wanted that, it had to be with somebody else. Because I wanted it from him. And I know that I was being like very controlling, like conditions, and you know, the best way to manifest anything you want is to just be like, this or better. But this was a man that I was attached to in a lot of ways. And so, you know, there was a lot of unhealthy attachments to him. And that's what caused me to have so much struggle and really not be able to manifest what I wanted. Like, I also didn't want to be with a man that I constantly had to manifest the version of him that I wanted from him out of him all the time. Like, I wasn't like performing spells on him all the time, but before I knew what spells were, I kind of was. Hopefully he doesn't watch this, because he'll call me and be like, what the fuck? But, you know, I was very strongly envisioning him being the man I wanted him to be and acting the way I wanted him to act. And every time I did that, he did. I mean, there was one point where like it went 6 months of him just being who I wanted him to be. And it was amazing. I thought that was truly who he was. I thought that all the negative parts of him weren't truly who he is. And on a spiritual level, they're not, of course, you know, but it was a lot of work, I think, for him to upkeep that version of him, because I don't think it was really genuine. And it was a lot of work for me to upkeep that version of him, because he didn't keep that vibration all the time. Like, I thought I was manifesting his soul version of him out of him, or I don't know. I mean, really, I guess I was being selfish. It wasn't even selfish. I mean, it was just, I wanted him to be the beautiful man that I saw in him all the time. And it wasn't like I was making him be that so that would make me feel better. No, like I was doing my work to like raise my vibrations, and I was just writing down all the things I loved about him. And I was just getting in alignment with all the part of him that I loved. But I would also set the intention. I would be like, okay, you know, this is what I want him to act like when he comes here. This is how I want him to treat me. This is, you know, and if he like acted out of alignment, I would just be like, okay, this is what I desire, because I was so used to when conditions went the way I didn't want them to go, I just changed them. Like, I was so used to doing that. And I want to really point out, that makes me sound a little crazy and like controlling of everything and like very witchy, which is I kind of like, but the way to control your environment is to control your vibrations, right? The way to control your environment is to control your vibrations. So I was a master at my own self. I was a master at my own mind. I was a master at my own emotions, my own vibrations when it came to all of these things in my life. Until I got to the point where, you know, once he ended it, like, I didn't want to be with him. I didn't want to be with the version of him that I had seen for 4 years so often, and that he really fought me to be. Like, he wanted to do the things that he wanted to do that were, in my eyes, like, you know, I had done those things when I was living a very toxic life. Like, I hung out at the bars, at these like dive bars, and was drinking 3-4 nights a week and smoking cigarettes. And, you know, like, that was my life when it was really toxic, when I was like living a very toxic life, and he wanted to just live that life. And I'm like, I can't do that. Like, that version of me is the toxic version of me. And that was just, for him, it was like the normal version of him in his eyes, you know? And so it just didn't, there was just so many things out of alignment. I just couldn't make him be something that he wasn't ready to be. And, you know, for me in my eyes, I know this sounds super controlling, but for me in my eyes, like, I wanted the best for him. And I think in a lot of ways, and he would probably agree with me, in a lot of ways, I really kind of projected my own healing onto him. Like, I was like, oh, this is bad for you. Like, this is the way you should be. Cause this is like, you know, I'm trying to save you from a lot of trouble, but like everybody's on their path. And some lifetime, whether it's this lifetime for him or the next, shit's going to really hit the fan in a way where he's going to have a spiritual awakening, because we're all here to do that in some lifetime, you know? And I think I was like, maybe in some way I was trying to speed up his spiritual journey so that he could like meet me where I was. Come on. Can you just grow up and like be what I want you to be? And I see that now as I'm saying this right here and now. But, you know, I think we all, like, it's weird to admit this. It's coming out of my mouth right now. And I'm telling you, if he's watching this right now, he's like, yep, see, I've been telling you this all this time. Yeah. I mean, he wanted me to be what he was. Like, we both were kind of like reflecting that. Like, he wanted me to just chill out and have a fucking beer and like go eat a cheesesteak and hang out at these dive bars where everybody's smoking cigarettes. And I'm like, I can't do that. Like, I know how toxic that really is. I know how low vibe that energy is. I know that the people that are hanging out in these like dive bars in this neighborhood, like, they're not people who are like uplifting people and like going to be supportive. And no, they're not the type of people that I want to put around me, but they were like his friends. So, you know, there was a lot of disconnect, but then at the same point, like, when we were both high vibe, we were a perfect match. And when we were not high vibe, we were the complete opposite. So we were polar opposites in that sense. So it was very interesting. But, you know, me at my worst, like, not at my worst, but there might have been a time where I would have matched up with who he is now. And that's where we kind of got like we struggled a bit there, because it's almost like dating him was like dating an earlier version of me, like a younger version of me, or just a prior version of me, like somebody who I would have matched up with that before my spiritual awakening. Like, had I not, and I think that kind of pissed him off. Like, he was like, God, can you just not be spiritual? Can you not be woke? And I was like, God, can you just be woke? Like, there was a real disconnect with that, because I had my ego still, but I was also able to transcend my ego. So I was like two people, right? I was able to be this like high vibe spiritual person who was able to like really just detach from the whole world. And he never really had that moment, unless maybe he was on drugs or something. I mean, he doesn't do drugs, but, you know, I'm just saying, if he were to maybe do drugs or something, then he would have had that experience. But, you know, when we had like during sex, I might have maybe opened some things for him, some chakras to get him to kind of be with me. But it was such a struggle. And I got so used to being able to have control in my life, being able to control conditions, because I was a fantastic manifester. And so I could just manifest whatever I wanted. And I became that vibrational snob, and manifesting snob is really what I became. And what I've been met with for the last year is a series of things that I don't want to happen. But I got to the point where I was like, I don't know what I want. So I've really been going through the contrast of like, okay, figuring out what I actually want. And in that process, the woman that I was a year and a half ago wanted him. I just wanted him to be nicer, right? But the woman that I am now doesn't want him like I used to. Like, doesn't want that high vibe version of him. I see clearly now that there were so many low vibe attachments going on, even in our high vibe, like when we were high off of each other, basically. There was a lot of cords, toxic cords happening with he and I. And it was because of my patriarchal belief system. That was the reason that we matched up. Because everything in me, like half of everything in me was like, we don't match up at all. Like people would see us and be like, that doesn't make sense, you know? And even if like I look at old pictures of us and I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like nothing against him, but like we so clearly don't match up. Like I so clearly was even just like more mature than him from the gate. Again, nothing against him. He was 4 years younger than me and has not, like, I wasn't a mom. I was a mom. Like, he wasn't a parent. He didn't know any of that stuff. And so, like, on top of the fact that he just was really immature for his age, like, we just were so different. And it was the conditioned belief system, I think, on a great scale that made us match up. So I would have never learned or discovered that I needed to shatter the patriarchy within myself had I not gone through that effing experience that was earth-shattering for me and has been so painful for me. And, you know, it harmed what I believe is like almost every piece of me as a woman, to the point where it caused me to look at every piece of myself as a woman and say, like, why was a man able to shatter me like that in my womb? Like, how did I let a man into my womb like that, where I felt like contaminated my whole female energy being? And what caused that? And what I realized caused that was the system of beliefs, the structure of beliefs that I was conditioned to believe, because I was conditioned to not be my own female keeper. Like, I need to be my own keeper of my own feminine energy. I need to like fill my womb up with goddess light all day long and go, oh, no. Like, he had such low energy. And I was letting him be with another woman. Like, after we ended our relationship, I was letting him be with another woman and come and sleep with me and just being back and forth. I mean, there was never a time where I thought that they were actually together when he and I were sleeping together. So he would tell me that they like broke up, or that was always his story. So in my mind, he wasn't like cheating necessarily, but then I would find out later that they actually were together, and you know, that's happened a couple times. But I was allowing this man to like create all sorts of crazy cords between me and this woman. And I'm so effing psychic that of course, like, I feel it. Like, I can feel her. I don't feel her now, but like I could feel her because I was still sleeping with him. And because I didn't know any better, because I was taught, I'm going to be dead honest, and this is the realest of real. I was taught as a woman, and most of you were too, if you are a female, I was taught as a woman to disrespect myself. I wasn't taught as a woman not to respect myself. It's not like I just wasn't taught to respect myself. I was taught to straight up disrespect myself, to dishonor myself. And we are seeing it time and time and time and time again. And I don't want to feel cliche, because I feel like sounding cliche makes people not listen to me. But the battle is within us as women and within men. But the battle starts within us. Like, I mean, the battle's here, but like, the healing has to start within us as women, because we have to be the leaders here. The female always comes first. The female leads. That's what we do. But we're the ones that have to say, we can't just get up and say no more. We have to heal ourselves and then have our vibrations be able to back us up, that say, nope, we're not playing this game anymore. Hey, I'm a female. This is the way this works now. And then the men will follow suit. They'll have no choice. It's beginning little by little, but I still see that a lot of people are trying to fight the patriarchy outside of themselves, when we have to heal the patriarchy within ourselves. It is something that I believe is a part of my purpose. I don't think the purpose is given to us by something outside of us. I believe that we come here with our own purpose. Like I came here with an agenda, you know what I'm saying? And I always wanted to, because I've had sexual trauma since I was 5 years old. Well, at 5 years old, I had sexual traumas, and then I had multiple other ones from peers. As like a teenager, I was, raped multiple times and forced to do things sexually multiple times. And I always had a feeling that I was going to work with like rape victims and empowering women in that way. But this feels like the real foundation that needed to be cracked and shattered, which I'm still working on shattering it, but it really needed to be I needed to crack the foundation of this belief structure, because we know this, that like we were born into a rape culture. It's normal. Like the president of the United States boasted about grabbing a woman by the pussy. Oh, you could just grab by the pussy, do whatever you want. Like that's crazy, but it's been normal. It's been acceptable. So it's almost like I don't want to say that we can't blame the president. We can't blame him for something like that. But in a way, it's like, can we blame any of us? This is what has been normal. This is what we've all been taught. This is the system we've been operating on. I think it's not, can you blame us, but it's, are you surprised? I think that's the question, is like, are you really surprised? And then the next question is, what the fuck are you going to do about it? And I'm telling you, the first battle is in here, and in here, really, it's in here, and it's in the womb for us women, especially. And that will create a wave outside of ourselves. I promise you. Trust me, because I know how to manifest. Like, this is nobody's business, right? I just told you all that story about how good I am at manifesting. We manifest by becoming the master of our own minds, the master of our own vibrations. And vibrations are caused by our belief system, right? Thoughts are vibrations, right? Emotions are vibrations as well, but emotions come from our belief system. And so it is this belief system that is imprisoning all of us. And it will continue to create these dynamic of relationships where especially women are caught up in abusive relationships with narcissistic men. We're just starting to wake up to this whole narcissistic personality disorder and be like, oh, this is the thing? Like, yeah, it's going to continue. And women are going to continue to be victimized and it's not just women. I recognize that, but it's mostly women. We know that statistically, that it is more women than men. But it's like the average woman is being abused or in some way, sexually or otherwise, right? And it's such a part of our culture, and it will not stop until we start to question our own beliefs. Like I have to question myself, like, why did I do my hair like this? Like, why did I put this outfit on? Am I putting this on for myself, or am I putting on because I'm trying to feel sexy because of the patriarchal, sexuality, like female sexuality? And like when I see women on Instagram, like trying to celebrate female sexuality, and yet they're wearing like this almost like Playboy kind of outfit, I'm like, is that female sexual? I don't know. Is that female sexuality? Of course, we're going to have to answer this question individually, but is that female sexuality, or is that the patriarchy's idea of female sexuality? That's before we start talking about allowing how female sexuality should be, we should be free to be able to express ourselves sexually. I think that the more important conversation is the patriarchy, and it's the patriarchal woman. And we have to ask ourselves, like, am I being the patriarchal woman, or am I following my soul? And the question is no longer like, does this feel good to me? Because when I straighten my hair like this, because I believe that straight, this wavy girl, like beach wave thing is prettier than my curly hair, That's because I've been conditioned to believe that. So is this really lighting me up in my soul, or is it just giving my ego a high? And that's where we really, we have to question that. And again, you're not gonna really be ready to do that until you've been through an experience like I've been through, something that forces you to question these things within yourself. And so I never would be like, every single woman, you need to shatter the patriarchy, it's all your responsibility. No, I think that what you're responsible for is your own personal calling. And I think that you should continue to follow your own guidance. And I think that that's the most important thing for every single one of us to do. And I would never push you into fighting a battle that's not for you to fight. I remember I didn't do the women's march a couple years back, and one of my family's members was like, oh, it's the women's march. You're not doing the women's march. And I'm like, nope, not my battle. Just not my battle. And that's fine. Your battle. That's great. Not mine. So, I think that we should all be on our own path and do our own thing. But for those of you who have been experiencing something similar to me, or questioning your own constructs, social constructs within yourself and belief systems, I think that this is a great place to be for you. Cheers to that. Okay, so I've talked for a long time, and I appreciate you guys being here. I am feeling better every single day. I'm getting more and more clear. I love that I just talked about this. This helped me to really get clear about a lot of things. This is kind of how I get clear with a lot of things. So I would like to get back to doing my videos. I would like to get my business back up and running. I would like to get all of that, but it's really one step at a time. And most important is me, right? And my vibrations and my emotions and how I feel, and truly loving myself and re-loving myself, and reconnecting with God as well as the goddess. I feel like I have to redefine what God means to me again because of everything that I've gone through. I'm like, oh, I don't even know what God is again. And I'm kind of like, give me a sign of this, give me a sign of that. And I need to, prove to me that this is real, all that kind of stuff. And so I'm just praying every day. I'm praying and praying and praying and waiting for the answers, and letting that be my proof that source is here, that I am supported. And I'm like, okay, is it goddess and God, or is it this? And I'm going to question everything. Are these goddesses real? Is this really real? I want to question everything, especially now with witchcraft and with this sort of pagan ideologies that I've been kind of, dabbling in. So that's where I've been. That's the tea talk for the day. Nice long episode. You all know I like to talk. But I do hope you got a lot from that. And I really would like to know, I would like to get a conversation going down in the comments. I'm going to set the intention right now. That I would like to get a really beautiful, loving, eye-opening, responsible conversation about the patriarchy, about, do you relate to me? Do you notice your own patriarchal conditionings? I really want this to be a conversation about you and yourself, not you pointing the finger out to other people. I really want it to be let's talk about us. Let me talk about what I need to heal. Let me talk about what's happening within me, and let's make it really loving and really compassionate towards ourselves, and forgiving, and hey, this is what we were born into, and we just kind of went with the herd, really. We didn't really question too much. Some of us did, and then some of us struggled with it, and and we're all, again, just doing the best that we can. So I'm sending you all love. I, of course, will do at some point another tea talk, another update, but I really want to get a conversation going. Make sure that you come and follow me on Instagram and Facebook every week, as long as Facebook allows it. But of course, Mercury retrograde this week started, and Facebook didn't allow me to do a Facebook Live. But every week on Facebook, I do a live tarot reading. They're just really chill, really relaxed. You get to just sit and chill with me. It's kind of like this, but it's much more engaging because I'm talking to you guys. I'm talking to everybody on there. And then on Instagram Live, every full and new moon, usually it's either like the day of or the day before, I do a live tarot reading for that. If you want a personal tarot reading, you can go to my website, DarianEmpire.com. I am still doing, I do private coaching, and I'm still doing business coaching, right? So that's where like I'll take my, 5, 6 years of, really 10 years of business on my own, but of experience really with like online business stuff. If you want to start your own spiritual business, whatever that may be, I will do business coaching. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely hit me up. You can DM me on Instagram, or you can contact me on my website at Darian Empire, and we can chit-chat about that. And there it is. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for supporting me. Thank you so much for your interest in Witch Baby Wednesday. And, I've had people say like, I'm their favorite witch on YouTube, and I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you for continuing to watch and share my stuff. I really, really appreciate that. And I feel really connected to you guys. It's not about like me, building my channel up for my own personal reasons, but it really is about building this really beautiful community like that I want to touch and I want to be with and connect with. So I love you guys very much. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.
Nobody told me it's supposed to be this love.